Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Well Women Wednesday. This is one of my favorite days, and really excited for today's conversation. I'm Nakeia Drummond. I'm founder of The Well and founder of She's Well Network. We support Black women entrepreneurs with accessing the necessary resources of community and capital, all types. So we're talking informational capital, relational capital, financial capital to ease the journey of building wealth and legacy for themselves and their families. Our community is more than a program. We have programs, but we're more than a program. We're a sisterhood of Black women entrepreneurs who really are about supporting each other. We are a community of women from pre-revenue to over 2 million in business, and we believe in the power of authenticity, our collective brilliance, and collaboration to drive our success. Which leads me to our conversation today, which I'm super, super excited about. I'm gonna just name for y'all Brittany Janay Kess, who is the guest today, and I have been having a dialogue about this conversation and about what is to come, with some work she's doing as a member of the Well and as an expert in the Well, with us over the next several months. We've been talking about this for, I don't know, a year and a half or something. But lives, people have babies, people get married. So when I say people, I'm talking about Brittany.
It's really real, really quickly.
Life is real. Wow. And so we started this conversation about how she can bring her own perspective and brilliance to bear as an expert in this community, in the Wells community. She's been a member for several years. She went through our early entrepreneur growth program, and one idea was one session that was anchoring all of us around some shared beliefs, that a lot of the time we assume we have, but sometimes go unspoken. And Brittany wanted to give language to them. She wanted to speak them and not just assume that we were all aligned around these core or these anchoring beliefs. But life's like we said. So we didn't move this forward until this summer, and started this conversation, had this amazing conversation / workshop, if you will, but just the two of us, which led Brittany to then go in the lab and create this 4-part series called Building a Business with Love and Community, that she is going to lead the Wells community through over the next several months. Super excited to have you here, Brittany. Brittany is an equity and justice practitioner. She's the creator of this amazing affirmation card deck for Black professionals called Liberated Love Notes. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's a daughter. And like I said, she's a member of the Well. She's my sister, my co-collaborator in lots of brilliant work that we get to do together. And one of my very favorite people to talk to, because every time we talk, one, your voice soothes my soul, but also because you're always thinking and creating and believing for us and in us. And it's always just inspiring and dope. So now that we laid that foundation, I'm going to throw out to you a question that you grapple with, that you have built practice around, that you help other people to think about and explore. Where and who are you from?
Wow. I actually appreciate, and if I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow. And as much as I have invited or come into space and led with, I am from, I don't know that I've been asked that in this context. So in the context of an interview or a panel, I don't know that I've had someone actively ask me that. And so no lie, Nakeia, I even felt myself get choked up.
Oh wow.
And I'm reflecting on the West African, not West African, I think it's actually South African principle of Sawubona. Sawubona. I see you. I see you. And how that principle is so inherent to us as Black folks, people of African descent. And something about you asking me that. I'm
Mm.
feeling like seen. So
Mm.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You see my dog, he's trying to be seen too. So Nipsey, please.
This is actually real life.
Real
So
life.
I had to use that moment to even just gather myself, because I felt myself getting emotional. Who am I from? Where am I from? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, and it does that. I mean, you asked that question of others. So I'm glad you
Yes.
get to experience it
Yes.
in this way, because it's like, ooh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And this process, and I think this is where this is coming from. This invitation of myself to get curious and intentional about lineage, which is what that question is, who are you from, was very much so in the context of my grandfather's transition. And so I think I'm even like, the people are getting to know Brittany Janay today. I'm noticing that my like fervor and passion around that question being so core to who we are was definitely in the context of me uh, experiencing the elevation of my grandfather into ancestorship. And so it's a question,
What's
and
his name?
Elmer. God.
Yeah.
And so I am from Corey and Loretta. I'm from Corey and Loretta's affirming love. Affirming love that empowered me to ask questions. Love that
Yeah.
empowered me to ask the question why. A love that I have friends. Man, your parents are just so team Brittany. Like, so I'm from Corey and Loretta's affirming love. I am from Elmer and Lucille's really big faith. I recall a time, in the spirit of being invited to ask questions. I recall, and this was probably like 3rd or 4th grade. I remember asking my father, like, curious, 3rd grader, 4th grader, but then also critically thinking 3rd grader or 4th grader. I'm like, why do Grams and Pops go to church so much when bad stuff keep happening? So I'm like contending with the fact that like stuff is happening to my family, and here we are, very much so engaged in this like faith and in this Christian tradition. And so when I talk, and I remember my dad responding something paraphrased like, your grandparents experience a faith that is beyond this world. I appreciate and experience that as an inheritance in some just like really tangible ways, Nakeia. So I am from.
So you are from that faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I hear you say, like, when I hear folks say, wow, I love how you hope and imagine. Well, that's if I'm from faith, certainly that is what I'm accountable to continue to hope, to continue to imagine. I'm from Lewis's love that looked like provision, very few words. I'm from Lula B's healthy suspicion, like a perpetual like, what's this about? And so it is not lost on me that I find myself in this posture of wonder and like critical thinking, and this just desire to continue to hold people, systems, community, us accountable to asking ourselves some, the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and then I'll say I am from, just as it relates to my intellectual lineage, which gets at this practice of love. I am from the work of Toni Morrison, who reminds us that it is absolutely possible to practice, to create, to build beyond the white gaze. I am from Audre Lorde, who reminds us that the white man within us tells us, I think, therefore I am. But there's this Black woman who whispers, I dream so I can be free. And so that, like when I even think about how I strive to show up in practice, I absolutely want to be that Black woman whisper.
Yeah.
And we can dream beyond. I am from, and this feels very present. I'm from the beautiful work, and talk about place, Baltimore. I'm from the beautiful work of Doctors Elmer and Joanne Martin, who folks in Baltimore probably know and point to because they're the founders of the Great Blacks in Wax Museum. But even more, like for me, the work around the Black helping tradition has been just core to how I understand my role in, whether it's equity and justice, whether it's facilitating space with young people, whether it's, being in community with other Black women entrepreneurs. The Black helping tradition is a historical context that helps me understand that I'm from a lineage of folks who have always shown up in different contexts in service of our community, tending to our community, and certainly building towards a more liberated future.
Yeah. So rich. See, y'all see why I just can sit and talk to Brittany any day, all day long, and it's always love. It's always love. So let's get into love. Love is a central theme in the series of work that you're doing with the Well, but it's a central theme in all of your work. It is Liberated Love Notes. It is In Loving Accountability, your consulting work. What in the world does love? What's love got to do with it? What's love got to do with business? Why is love a part of the dialogue when we are talking about business and when you think about the context of this series and all the work you're doing?
So, one piece of context that I think is important, sort of like grounding context, is that when I refer to the language, when I refer to love, certainly there's the spiritual element. I'm of the Christian faith, and so I'm thinking about the scripture in Corinthians that defines some of the actions associated with love: patience,
Yeah.
kindness.
Yeah.
Um, there's certainly like love as the mainstream oftentimes understands it as like an emotion, like the feeling, romance, those like dominant narratives. I was introduced to Bell Hooks' All About Love. I don't know, was it like 2018? And I appreciated her framing of love, one as action, yes, but as a deliberate response to oppressive systems. And so she contextualized love as this
Yeah.
interrogation of our relationship to racism, white supremacy, who we've internalized without even knowing it. She actually, as part of the trilogy, so it's 3 books, y'all, that Bell Hooks wrote around love, all about love. But my favorite was Salvation, Black People in Love, because that's where she invited me to consider this understanding of love that was critical. Like, say that I love myself means I have to interrogate all the things that cause me harm, my community harm. If I say that I love people, I have to interrogate all the ways in which I might say that this is my value, authenticity and um, ease and uh, being collective,
Mhm.
but being accountable to the ways that I may not be showing up in that way. Right. Like,
Mhm.
so it was, right. And so it was like, wow, love isn't just this feeling. Love is this deliberate resistance to
Mhm.
systems that cause us harm. Love is justice.
Mhm. Mhm.
Business exists in a very exploitative, just like broader system. And in my experience, if we're not careful, even as Black people, as leaders, as folks
Yes.
building community, we can internalize and like embrace behaviors that we thought we needed to embrace to survive,
Yeah.
but then adopt them in our businesses and in community,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And we deserve better than that. And so when I even think so that's like some just like theoretical context. But when I think about how that intersects with liberated love notes are one part affirmation, yes, speak life and love, and intended to be very critical.
Mhm.
Where did you learn this from? Because you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
you into also just invite, reflection,
Yeah.
really intentional reflection. And that's love from my perspective. Like the asking of why. I started with my parents, that affirming
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
and the invitation to ask why and think critically.
Yep.
That's a big part of just my framework
Yeah.
for love.
I,
Um,
I love that. No, that's really beautiful. And I think, what led us, you and I, down this road together of exploring like the idea of a session initially, which, then turned into a
yeah,
series, was conversations about um both in the theoretical and in the like experiential, right? Things we've actually experienced of um knowing that while we can intellectualize like, okay, I'm starting a business, or this person or us as a community being in business in order to leave, right, exit systems and structures that like were harmful, damaging to us, didn't see us, all of that on one hand, and then without doing this kind of critical analysis of like, well, what does it mean and look like to do it differently, we just go and replicate a
yeah,
Black version of the same thing, right? Our own version. We can go and create the same prisons that we leave, right? We can go and create, and we do. If and that was a place where you and I were like so aligned, like, and we do, if
yeah,
we don't do some
yeah,
very deliberate work to explore what it is that we left and what it is that we are leaving, and or need to leave behind. And so that's, I know that was like the genesis of this conversation for you and I. And I wanted to dive into that a little more because you definitely touched it when you were like, what does it mean to be asked some of those like hard and critical
yeah,
questions, right? And not just to be affirmed, but to be like, no, that's not right. That's
yeah,
not good for us.
yeah,
To get that as well, and that is also love. And so thank you for naming that. So like, let's talk about like your process for creating in love and exploring and interrogating, like all of the things, like what goes into you creating, whether it is creating the card deck or creating this series. And I would love for us to, like, if we have a chance, if we have time and it makes sense, for us to talk about what it looked like for you to create this series, because we had a moment together that was like so powerful and beautiful, and became this, like, you started taking notes on it, and
Yes.
asking some questions, talking about certain conditions. And what you said was, what we ended up, I don't know if it was you who said it or me who said it, and you were like, this isn't just I can't remember the word you said, but you're like, but no, this is an ethos. Like, we talked about, like, an ethos that had
This is not just
to,
a
or that
workshop. It
did.
wasn't just a design session.
Yeah,
We
you were like,
literally
this isn't just a design. Yes, yes, yes. You were like, this is an ethos um, that, needed to exist for, like, what came out of this and what you ended up going back and doing to, like, really, like, truly take shape. And so, in the context of that, or in a broader context, what does your creative process look like? What does it look like to create in, with love in mind, and that interrogating or exploring of, ways of being that align and don't?
So, to make it very practical, because I do think that in our moment of like curated an ethos, this is framework. I absolutely was taking notes, but not in a way that I wasn't present, but it was so salient that even once I left the space, I took a moment, like literally sat in the car and was like, wow, this is here. Like
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, my body, I feel it in my spirit and soul. And I wrote the question, what
Mm-hmm.
were the conditions that made today possible?
Mm-hmm.
What were the conditions that made today possible? I'm actually going to read them because
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a lot of mainstream frameworks out there just as it relates to what it means to create and hold space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you and I experienced was the power of just like emergence and embodiment. That's what's coming up for me. Wow, 3 E's, embodiment, emergence, and ethos. That's what I feel like we
Mm-hmm.
experience. What I'm about to name, when I think about it, is connected back to love. And so, what were the conditions that made or created a space where we could dream and create as Black women, which is fire. Wow. Home. And I wrote, we are safe and covered. We are safe and covered. Wow. What does it mean to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Grounded. We are outdoors. We are bare feet. We are surrounded by the natural elements. We are home. We are grounded. Energy. We use smoke to cleanse. We use music to feel. Like, wow. Home, grounded energy. Connected. We are not limited to our computers or screens. That's important to name because I remember when I walked
Yes.
in, you were like, I don't really got capacity to look at it just was a lot going on. I remember, and you're like, I don't want to look at this computer. I don't want to look at the screen. We literally use what was in front of us in our bodies, y'all.
Yeah.
Freedom to be. We are co-creators of this space. Our humanity is not a distraction.
Mm.
What?
Mm.
Our
Right.
humanity is not a
Right.
distraction.
Right. Because remember, I took a
Oh,
pause.
and then you're like, "I gotta." You don't what? How often are
Yeah.
we find
Yeah.
ourselves apologizing for our
Yeah.
humanity? I was just in a session
Yeah.
yesterday, and she kept someone was felt they like had to apologize for crying, and I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
we've been conditioned to
Yeah.
apologize,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's freedom. Spirit and love.
Mm.
We affirm, we unlearn, we ask questions of ourselves. Wow.
Mm.
And then the last one was wisdom and presence of our elders and ancestors. I think there were a
Mm.
number of times where we referenced some of the elders in our lives, and even ancestors who influenced.
Mhm.
This feels so affirming because you asked me my process. It wasn't
Mhm.
until our being in community. So let's just talk about the power of community. It wasn't
Yes. Yes.
I had never documented this, Nick. So I literally had to be in leave my space, be in community with you on, and let's also talk about the power in, because you started with this, some of the shared values and understandings that we
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
around. So the power in that to like get to this process that now that I share it out, oh wow, this is my like this is process.
Yes.
I hadn't
Yeah.
documented it. What is
Yeah.
it? This July. When is this note? June 2020. I hadn't documented it, and yet this is very much so. Home, grounding, energy, connection, freedom to be, spirit and love, wisdom and presence of our elders and ancestors. That's process. That's
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
even when I think about how liberated love notes started out as a post-it note that I put in a journal entry. It wasn't on my computer. You know what I mean? Like it was very much so like written affirmations, right?
Yeah.
And when I talk about this, where I'm from in lineage piece, being influenced by my grandfather's transition and elevation into ancestorship. And so the power of lineage in just how we create, right? In
Yep. Yep.
spirituality, right? Um, imagine if our business, imagine. So I think we're doing great as entrepreneurs, leveraging some of the technical skills of this world. And imagine,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, imagine what is possible when we
Yeah.
return. And this is why
Yeah.
right when we return to
Return to.
ways of being that are actually intrinsic to who we are.
Yeah.
Um,
When it doesn't feel like such a pull, but it's flow. When we flow, right? Because
yes,
it is natural to us
yes,
to do
yes,
things in that way. Yes, yes,
yes.
yes, yes. And it always feels right. But what's interesting about it, even when it feels right, is you know, the back of our mind telling us like there is something wrong about it or off about it or not quite business, and like how we get to a place where we know our own voice, right? So that return, like our own voice and the voice that is in us and the one that has been supplanted.
Like, yo, it's Toni Morrison in her documentary. And when she said it, I remember feeling so seen. I was like, oh wow, the ancestors be knowing. She's
Mm-hmm.
like recalling the day, and she used the metaphor of
Mm-hmm.
like plucking that white man that's on her shoulder. So you talked about that
Yes.
voice, right?
Yes.
Like can
Yes.
you just I was like, ooh, I like the idea of that. Like just the
Yes.
somatic
Yes.
practice of the next time you hear that, pluck it off.
Yes. Yes.
And replacing it with that again,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Because
know,
it's really hard to operate from, I mean, come up with all the words that feel right. A fullness of space of love, of creativity, of energy, of
abundance,
innovating, all
yes,
of that, of abundance. When
humanity.
you are in tension with that voice that just does not quite feel aligned
You're
to
not
who
enough.
you.
That's not gonna
Yeah.
work. It's not
Yeah.
practical. That's
Yeah.
not how this
This
goes.
isn't how
You're an
business is done.
imposter. You need to compete with them. They don't need to be up there. What make you know what I mean? Like just let's just be like all of these. Why
All the
she
things.
why she get to all of
All the things that,
all of yeah.
yeah, no. All the things that not are not aligned in love, right? Or with love, and in our spiritual practice, in our religious practice. You mentioned being Christian, I'm Christian. Like, where love is, lack is not. Where love is, fear is not. And so all those things that you just listed off that we are in tension with are literally not love.
Right.
And so what does love got to do with it when it comes to business? It has to do with that feeling of of fullness, of abundance, of innovation, of creativity, of wisdom, of being supported, of being connected, of being safe, of being able to be in the lab and try and be human, because it's not going to all be right and perfect, but to experience your humanity fully is all the things that love has to do with it. And that's so beautiful. So thank you for bringing that to us.
One thing I'll share, because I do, and I'm really big on just calling out the names of folks who have influenced this, my own return to love, right? A few years ago, I was leading a team. One of the women I was leading, Black woman. And at the time, I was actually transitioning out the role. And so this was in the context of a farewell and her sharing the impact of my leadership at the time. And she shared, I experienced your leadership as a love practice. Thank you, Tammy, because that was in the spirit of what does love have to do? This was a workplace. This was a workplace. This was a business context. And that was my first time even hearing that as a way to describe how I was showing up. Yet it was how I wanted to show up.
Yeah.
And so when I talk about this, I don't want folks to think this is from a place of theory, right? Like, right? Like, yeah, in our leadership, in community, as entrepreneurs, as change makers, as folks who are committed to any body of work, there is space. If humans are involved, if humanity is involved, if Black people are involved, there is absolutely space. And I would even say a need for a love practice, a love ethic, as Bell Hooks would say, a love ethic.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Whew. This is, I mean, we could go on forever. So what I get to say now is that the women in this community, the women who are a part of the well, the women who are past members of the well, and the women who are current applicants of the well, women who are looking to join the well now, and friends of the well, if you know a well member and you want to explore and, be wrapped in this theme of what does it mean for me to build my business in love and community, a different approach, a different an ethos that has not been explored in the traditional spaces where we've learned business. Come be a part of this with us. Be a part of this series with us. We are opening it, and there's no costs connected to it, because because Brittany has been fed by this space. I've been fed by her. It is truly being done as a gift of love for this community. And so you'll get an email if you're in one of those categories. You're a current member, you are an applicant, or you are a past member, inviting you to join us and explore this in a series of 4 sessions, with the final one being a reflection on legacy. And so while we don't have time to talk about all of them, if you could in like 1 minute reflect on, like, that one really sticks out to me because I'm currently thinking very intentionally about my legacy as a part of the Highland Project. And so thank you, Gabrielle Wyatt, for creating that space and also for getting me to think about legacy, because I honestly had not before. And there's lots of reasons why I've said the word, but I don't know that I've really, really reflected on like my legacy, like really. And so I would love for you to talk about what does it mean now and when you're an ancestor, when you think about your legacy and what you want your lasting legacy to be. And in the spirit of we are living real life, my car is being dropped off from the dealer now. So hold on one second, y'all. And you reflect on it and I'll be right back. Hold
You
on
want me
one
don't
second.
talk until you get back? Okay, cool. So while we wait on Nakeia, y'all, this I just want to say that this offering, this act of reciprocity, um this series, me being able to deliver it in the context of the well speaks to the beauty of authenticity. I mean, not authenticity, community. Because this was just an idea. And I'll be honest, now that I think about it, it was an idea that came while I was in a season of transition. And so, in as much as we talked about the delay, there is so much that happened in the between time that makes me excited about what this series is now, that probably it wouldn't have been had we delivered it. I'm sorry, I was giving the people more context on just like my process in Nakeia, just because I'm having an outer body experience about like, wow, we're really about to do this. And I was in a
Yeah.
different, it just speaks to community. It speaks to like Nakeia, shout out to you because you have absolutely been pivotal in my seasons of transition.
Mm.
Um, you are an embodiment of community. So anyway, yo, I
Thank
just wanted to I wanted to share that. You asked me
you.
about legacy
Yeah.
and you mentioned something that is key. What kind of ancestor do I want to be? That's the question.
Yeah.
What kind of ancestor do I want to be? And in as much as we kicked off with, or we began with, who are you from? I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking myself, who will she be from? Who will
Mm-hmm.
she? Like looking ahead, who will she be
Mm-hmm.
from? I'm
Yeah.
gonna read something, and then maybe that can be our natural close.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just get the our community reflecting on what this could look
Yeah.
like for them. I
And
wrote
you
down in
just
my
helped me with my own wrestle. I
who
don't
will
want to say
she
wrestle
be
because it's such a
from?
no, wrestle is not necessarily a negative thing, because when you think about Jacob wrestling with God, there was a wrestle, but and that's
Mhm.
okay. But my own wrestle with legacy, and why it is challenging for me to explore it in depth and far out is because one, people in my family have not lived long,
Mm.
right? And so I haven't gotten to like see a lot of that progression for them, right? Um, but two is like I haven't, there's so much of my like family, my lineage like that I just don't know.
So that's a strong connection to make because I do think the sometimes, and I'm not suggesting this is the case for anybody, but I will say the extent to which I have had capacity to hope for, imagine legacy is absolutely connected with my inquiry into lineage. And I'm not just talking about genealogical or
Mm-hmm.
biological lineage, but even
Mm-hmm.
the clarity around like what got me here, who got me here, what
Mm-hmm.
brought me here, what do I need to, those have helped
Mm-hmm.
also supported me with this. Oh wow, that being said, what am I leaving behind?
Yeah.
And now
Oh, I
this
love
may
it.
look different 2 weeks. This I wrote this some time ago, and I'm actually
Yeah.
feeling like, wow, she is from love, care, consideration. She benefits from a record, a
Mm-hmm.
living record.
Mm-hmm.
She will bear witness to our journeys, our failures, our humanity. She hears my voice, my daughter's voice, her daughter's voice, and hers too, her inner voice. She recounts our stories with ease. She contends with her challenges, not from a deficit, but with toys, tools that have been created with her in mind. She is her own standard. She dreams and questions, imagines, challenges, plans, hopes. She creates without limitations. And I am accountable to her ability to do so. Legacy for me, I've been thinking about what you've been processing is I need to make sure there's a record.
Yeah.
What does that look? How am I documenting?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How am I building in my work a practice of archiving, right? So that
Yeah.
there is a record.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. Oh,
And I want everybody to be reflected on that in our fourth session. Like,
yeah, and we
like
will. And you
girls.
don't know how much you just opened up something for me, like my own ability to reflect. Um in a I don't know if it's more clarity or like a new tool. I think you kind of gave me a new toy, a new tool,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, to like use as I am figuring it out.
Mhm.
So thank you. Thank you. That's so powerful, so beautiful. Whew, I could talk to you all day, but alas, I know you have pickup. I've got a next meeting. Thank you so much for
Yes, yes, yes.
being love, for like radiating love,
Yeah.
for working to bring that to us in real and tangible and practical ways, for how we get to show up in the world and in our work and for ourselves. Again, to the WOW members listening, do not miss out on this incredible journey we're going to go on and this opportunity, which starts November 5th. To former members who, I don't even like to call you former members. I need to come up with another word because
Mhm.
there's always a coming back home.
Maybe
And this
legacy.
is home.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
this space I know is home. And so sometimes we go away, but we come back. And so for members who just, are away from home right now, know that this space is for you as well. And
Mhm.
for incoming members,
Oh,
for
returning members.
returning
Returning
members,
members,
yes,
incoming members.
and for
Maybe that's for you.
incoming members and current members, it is for you. And so look out for those emails so that you can just register, sign up for this experience and this journey. Again, there is no cost except for your commitment to yourself and to community and to one another. Thank you. I'm really grateful for this space tomorrow. So this is our sixth birthday. This is our sixth birthday. And yeah, this month is our sixth birthday. I go back and
Wow.
forth on what exact date it was.
Wow.
And I looked that up because nothing is coincidental. So six is associated with love, harmony, and caring for others.
Wow. Look at
Is
that.
what I found the
Divine.
meaning of six to be. And so at the Well, we're not just building businesses. We are building community. We are being community, because we are community. It is in us. It's natural. We are forging a new way forward for us, one that honors our humanity fully, honors our brilliance, honors what's already in us, knows that it is enough, and allows us to live out the legacy that we stepped into, and to leave one behind for her. So thank you, Brittany, and we'll see you real soon. I'm so excited for this series, Building Business with Love and Community. I love you. Thank you for
I
being
love
here
you
with
too.
me. I'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty. Bye, y'all.
Bye.